Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Shootout. I have got a little glint in my eye today, not just because Chelsea are back, Chelsea are brilliant. That video is going to be the next video on the channel. It might have been the previous one, so stay tuned for it. But the reason I'm looking so happy is because I have decided to Manchester United Arsenal. 8-2 was the scores from last week, with me sitting with a big fat 8 points and Eunice struggling with 2 points. The scores are now 40 to me, 44 to Big Eunice. How are you, my friend? Welcome back to Shootout.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Good to be on. Hello, everyone. And look, in relation to the predictions and the results, I prefer not to speak.
Prefer not to speak?
If I speak,
this is great. We should have done some silent braille recording.
No, listen, I've had a horrible weekend, man. Everything was going wrong. Every single prediction, I'm about to get it in the last minute and then boom, it's taken away from me. And I'm like, this is just painful. This has just not been my week. But
there was a couple of games, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were. And we're going to get into it because it's absolutely incredible. But congrats, you were due a week, but it's your only week. The rest is all going to come in my favour again.
I needed it.
You needed it. You needed it.
You're just lucky, mate. I'm a firm believer. In momentum, all right? And I have a funny feeling that if there wasn't an international break this week, we'd be sat here in a week's time and I'd actually have taken you over. Looking at the scores now, like, for me, I'll put it back up on the screen for you guys with the updated scores. I got Nottingham Forest winning, which is a big one for me. We both said that Man United and Arsenal would win. That is how you managed to get your points. And Aston Villa. Maybe, actually, I've got this one wrong here. I think maybe you got 3 points.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest lost, mate.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah.
They lost.
Hang on. Wait, I've butchered it. I've butchered this whole thing. I've butchered the whole thing.
I told you it wouldn't last. I told you.
Wait, so I've totally got this all wrong here, and I've even messaged our graphic designer to tell him that the scores are this. Don't listen to me! Let me just count them up. This is so embarrassing. We have to keep this in the video.
Oh, come on.
Actually, I got it all wrong.
Come on. Oh, you see how the points make their way to me without even trying? It just happens. I told you.
Bro, I've butchered this so badly. I've ruined it. Like, I'm so far away. Okay. Let me count them up quickly. So it's 3-0, 4-1, 5-2, 5-2, 5-2, 6-3, 6-3, 6-4, 7-4. So I got 7, so I'm on 39, and you got 4, so you're on 46. So actually, it's nowhere near as good of a weekend as I first thought. This is so annoying. How have I done that? I even watched the West Ham Forest game. I watched the whole flipping thing. So, yeah, flip it. I'm still 7 points behind. Okay. Well, I hope you guys are entertained by the start to this video.
You see how this works? My worst week is your best week.
Mate, this is unbelievable. I actually genuinely, I thoroughly enjoyed that West Ham Forest game too. And for whatever reason, I just thought Forest won when I was counting up the points. And I was so wrong. Sorry, mate, West Ham fans. I butchered it.
You know what's mad? I thought Nottingham Forest would win as well. When they were winning, I was like, oh, crap, this has gone against me as well. And then all of a sudden, just West Ham just turned it. So, yeah, I don't blame you for thinking Nottingham Forest won, because at one point, I thought they did too.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might as well start on a positive for me, as I've already ruined myself for the beginning of this video for my inability to actually be able to count points and scores correctly. But I will say this one. You guys in the comments of the predictions video were reminding me just of how genius the Wolves 2 Spurs 1 prediction was. But even that one was clutching at straws. Wolves left it very late.
Mate.
But what do you think about Tottenham? Is this a result which just kind of cements everything that we wanted to happen, which was Spurs to fall off the face of the earth? Or were Wolves lucky? What do you think?
I mean, you need a bit of luck, in those sort of things, especially as Wolves. But no, they deserve to win in the end. Tottenham are in freefall. That's it. And they're actually quite lucky an international break has come round. But even after the international break, we know that the same injuries are going to be there. They're going to have the same players available, so it's not really going to change much. They are now heading down to reality. And it was, I think, a matter of time. I'll be honest, I didn't think it happened this soon. I thought they would continue this form and then eventually they would hit some sort of a little roadblock. But no, it looks like we broke them. Looks like Chelsea broke them, which is nice. But
we did.
I thought,
how great is that,
mate? I thought this prediction was going to come through. I predicted 1-1, and then in the last flipping second, and I was jumping in a bittersweet way. I saw Wolves score, and I'm like, yes, no, yes, come on, Wolves. Crap, I've lost my prediction, but come on, Tottenham have lost. And look, Wolves deserve it. Fantastic goals. Their equaliser was phenomenal, and then the way that they managed to get that winner was a very, very good, cleverly worked goal. Stayed onside, slotted bottom corner, and Tottenham in the mud. Tottenham now, I think they've gone down to 4th. It's a matter of time before they just keep plummeting, I think. And once their players come back in January, they might pick up some form. But by the time we hit that, I think they're going to be in the mud.
Yeah, I think there's a bet to be had, if you're a betting man or woman, there is a bet to be had that Chelsea could still finish ahead of Spurs by the end of 2023. Watch this space. Man United 1, Luton 0. I mean, come on. Man United have won 4 of their last 5. What is the conversation here? Because that's the best form right now of any team in the Premier League in terms of consistency. But I watched this game as well. It's baffling. I don't know how they keep somehow getting away with these poor performances. Like, Luton also had a couple of chances, but they just... I'm so intrigued to hear what Man United fans have to say about this in the comments down below of this video. What did you make of this game? It took a goal from Victor Lindelof to beat Luton Town. It wasn't convincing at all, was it?
Not at all. And listen, they're getting away with it because of the opposition they're coming up against. I mean, even against like a Copenhagen, they lose. We've seen them in Europe. They've not been great. Even in the league, they're coming up against teams. Fulham couldn't take advantage. United managed to nick it. Brentford, similar situation. They nicked it. So they're facing these teams where they're just nicking it. And Luton was a prime example. Luton come to Old Trafford and they gave it a valiant and good effort. I'll give it to Luton. Unlucky, but it's the level of Luton. And Manchester United, poor performance, but they got a win. Listen, it's a matter of time. And I know Jim Ratcliffe's going to be coming in. So that might create some sort of a buzz and that might change things. But that can only really substantially change United in a January transfer window. Up until then, I think United are going to suffer. We come back from the international break and they've got to play the Champions League, Galatasaray, Bayern Munich. In the midst of that, they've got to play Newcastle, Chelsea. They've got Bournemouth at home. They might get something from that, but they've got Liverpool as well. You're going to see United, I think, lose a substantial amount of games. And we'll get to that when it comes. But United's luck, I think, is about to run out. So they've had it lucky up until now. It's a matter of time before they go into free fall as well. So watch this space.
I absolutely hope that is the case because Chelsea are on the ascendancy. We're on the up. We're coming for you, Manchester United. Arsenal 3, Burnley 1. Arsenal finishing with 10 men with a Fabio Vieira red card. I'd say slightly unfortunate. It's a collision above the shin. Yeah. You can get sent off for those things these days, but a comfortable win for Arsenal. We both obviously predicted decent results. I said 2-goal margin. It was a 2-goal margin. 3-1. Incredible goal from Zinchenko was the real key standout moment from this one, but routine for Arsenal. They needed that win. Yep,
they did. Fair play, Burnley. Burnley scored. So it's something, but
well done.
Arsenal in control, fully in control. We expected that to happen. We didn't have Burnley scoring, to be honest, and they managed to get one. But Arsenal, calm, cool, collected. Not a brilliant first half performance when you look in the context of things, because they started off a little slow, but they managed to get into the game and it was routine. The red card, I'll be honest, you can maybe see from Fabio Vieira's perspective that it probably wasn't intentional, but at the end of the day, look, you put your studs that high up, you're getting sent off. That's just the reality. And if you have time to pull out of the challenge, which I think he did, you're going to get sent off. So it's by the letter of the law, it's a red, and I feel deservedly so in the end. But 3-1 winners, routine win, fair play Arsenal.
Yep, job done. No one really expected anything different. Palace versus Everton, though. It finished Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3. Neither of us saw Everton win in this game. We did the rounds. I said home win to Palace. I thought it would be close, 1-0. You said 1-1, which is definitely closer. But this was a game, I think, which... We've been saying a lot of good things about Everton. They've been putting in good performances, maybe not getting results. Then they've been putting in good performances, getting results. They were absolutely dominated possession-wise. I think they only had like 30% of the possession or something in this game against Palace. They scored 3 goals, which they're starting to score goals. And the thing I like about Everton, if we're going to analyse them without... I don't like Everton. But one thing I'll say is for such an average team, the fact that Deitch has been there now for a while means that he can work with these players, work on these players, and get out of them the maximum capacity as to what they can do and achieve. And I think if you were to put maybe a Deitch in another job in the Premier League, he could probably get the same out of Man United that Eric Ten Hag might not be able to get over the course of a season. But great win this for Everton. They're moving up. Like they're winning enough games now. And I think the relegation conversation, when you look at how bad some of the other teams in the league are, I think Everton fans can be happy that after 12 weeks of the season, yet another victory, I think they're as good as safe already. I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I don't really see any worries for them now. Like they're playing really well.
They are. They're playing. You know what it is? They're playing efficiently. They're playing very efficiently. They're getting the job done. They're not seeing much of the ball as expected under a Sean Dyche team, but they are utilising what comes their way. And the moment that a chance presents itself, they get on the break, they hit a counter, and they score. That's the one thing. They're clinical. They're actually super clinical right now. So fair play to Everton. They had 4 shots on target. 3 of them went in. So they managed to nick it. I predicted 1-1. And it was 1-1 after 20 minutes. And I was like, well, my prediction's in the bin because this isn't going to last.
If only it ended there.
Just finish it here because this is ruined. And I didn't expect that. I thought Everton would be very, tight, hard to get past. But Crystal Palace won't really face much of a threat. Everton were really, really threatening whenever the chance presented itself. So fair play to Sean Dyche in the way that he's got them set up. And 3-2 winners on the day. Fair play.
Big result. It's a big, big win. Speaking of big wins, Bournemouth beat Newcastle by 2-0. Former Chelsea boy, former Liverpool boy too, Dominic Solanke scoring 2 in the second half in a game that we both kind of talked about it before, saying, well, we don't really rate Bournemouth. They've been underwhelming. Newcastle are Newcastle. But this is Champions League hangover week for Newcastle United. They were dominated. They had more of the ball than Bournemouth did. But in terms of chances, Bournemouth with double the amount of shots on target. And they converted enough. This could be a massive win for Bournemouth in their season. But for Newcastle, is it a sign to be worried about? Like they're going into this Chelsea game in 10 days' time or whatever it is, out of form completely. Yeah. Or is this just simply like you can expect a few of these after a Champions League midweek? What do you think?
To an extent you can, but this is the thing. They might have a blessing with the international break in order to chill. I know they've got a few internationals, but when you're talking about the form that they're in, I think it's just the fact that they're playing Champions League football. They can't manage it at the moment, and they're definitely going to dip into the transfer market in January. They have to, in order to maintain it. If they were to make it into the knockout stages, which right now is starting to look a little shaky, they can still do it, but it's shaky. I feel like, they're in a similar situation to Brighton, but on a higher level. It's just looking like they're fatigued and they can't manage the schedule. They lost to Dortmund, and convincingly in terms of the performance. And this was surprising because Bournemouth dominated the game. This wasn't a case of Newcastle, with the ball and Bournemouth got lucky. No, Bournemouth were the better team on the day. They had the ball more. They had more chances. They had more goals. They were just threatening Newcastle all over the place. We saw Trippier speak to the fan after the game and use the excuse that they have injuries, which to be fair, they got a couple of men out. But at the end of the day, a team at that level should be able to have a squad that's going to manage the schedule. Clearly, they don't. So that's where I think their problem is. Yeah. That's where I think their problem is. Fair play to Bournemouth. Dominic Solanke getting the 2 goals. Ex-Cobham. And, I did not see this coming. We didn't see this coming. Bournemouth got a win. Fair play.
Very good result for them. Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1. A game that we both said 3-0. We were in mutual agreement with the 3-0 prediction. But the game necessarily wasn't, I'd say, as dominant as the scoreline looks. If you take our predictions into consideration, then it finished 3-1. You'd think, very routine win for Aston Villa. This was about them being more clinical. I'm looking at the shots here. Villa 12 shots, Fulham 9. Villa 6 on target, 5. Possession, 51% Villa, 49% Fulham. Fulham showed up and made this a very competitive game. But this, to me, is one of those matches where it's the hallmark of a team that have now been oiled well enough. They know exactly what they can do. They're willing to bounce back after poor results to get good results. They're making their home ground a fortress. No one wants to go to Villa Park right now. Aston Villa, we talked about this a little bit, but would you say there's any chance here, if we're looking at how tight and close the Premier League table is it possible, with the firepower that Aston Villa have, they've got great depth in their squad as well, brilliant players, is it way too far-fetched to say that with certain teams dipping in and out of form, but then they've been very consistent, even though they get some bad results, could Aston Villa, if the league is going to be this tight, be in a title race this season? Or is that stupidity?
No, not a title race. No chance.
All right, fair enough.
No,
Shoot me down. It's okay.
I thought you were going to say top 4 or a Champions League spot. And if it's a Champions League spot, absolutely. But because you never know, and they're in the mix right now, so it's a case of just maintaining it. The fact they've got Europa, they've got Conference League, and I'm sure that they're going to want to go all the way in that because it's a European trophy in the same way West Ham did last season. Aston Villa, I feel like, will try and definitely go for that, and that might work in cohesion with the Premier League if they're not really, competing in the cups properly. But I think top 4 is the aim for them, and they can, if they are to maintain this form, especially their home form, because that's the bread and butter. But no, not a title race. No chance. No chance can they try and compete with Man City before 38 games in the season. No way. But they're doing really well. And this game in and of itself showed that, yeah, you're right. They're making Villa Park a fortress. Fulham, though, they just can't score. Fulham's problem is their lack of finishing. They're just not clinical. They just cannot score goals. They got a consolation towards the end, but it's just not enough. They had opportunities during the game to be able to keep it level and they didn't. That's their problem. Aston Villa can, and that's where they won the game.
Yeah, I mean, they got Raul Jimenez probably 3 or 4 seasons too late, to be honest, after that injury. Speaking of a team who are also really struggling right now, 2 teams actually that are really struggling in different ways for different reasons. Brighton 1, Sheffield United 1. Brighton end the game with 10 men. They start very well. Adingra scoring in the 6th minute. Sheffield United relying on an Adam Webster own goal, which is what they're going to have to do this season. That's now 4 points in their last 2, though, for Sheffield United. Who would you say... I mean, Sheffield United are obviously more worried because they actually will probably get relegated. Brighton aren't getting relegated. But in terms of, the way that the form is going for Brighton, this could be a great time for Chelsea to play them at home in, 3 weeks from now. Brighton are struggling, aren't they? They can't seem to cope at all with European football and then having Premier League games sandwiched in between. Or is it like the European games are like the sandwich or the filling and then the bread and butter? What should Brighton fans be worried about here? Should they be trying to focus more on the league and forget the European football? Surely not, because they're finally there. But it's not a good result, this. They have to be beating Sheffield United at home.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. With Brighton, they've got tons of focus on the Europa League. And I feel like that they've actually come quite lucky because they faced an Ajax team that is in absolute turmoil. Right? They are similar to where Chelsea were last season with Graham Potter and what was going on and just pure chaos and losing every week. Ajax are in that situation right now. They've gone through a monumental change in terms of trying to, salvage something, and they've sacked their sporting director and whatnot. And there was clashes at the stadium and it's just chaos at Ajax. So they took advantage of that, which is expected, but everything else around it, they're just struggling and they can't manage. And De Zerbi has said this previously, and I agreed with him when he was like, we can't manage playing these competitions all at the same time. We just don't have the squad. And that's correct. They don't have the squad. They can't do it. They're too fatigued. They can't manage. They don't have the options to rotate with. And when they do, they don't have the same level to maintain the football that we were seeing at the start of the season. So Brighton are struggling, and you see the way that they didn't fold against Sheffield United, but they didn't show up. That's Brighton's problem. They just, as I said, the levels dropped, and Sheffield United managing to get that own goal, which is working in their favour. It all kicked off at the end with the red card, and De Zerbi towards the end not very happy, and just carnage. You can tell the mood at Brighton has changed, and I think that's a factor.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's anything to worry about, though. They've still got a good manager, still got good players, but it's a bit of a rough patch with getting used to that European football. European football, though, didn't seem to be an issue for West Ham. West Ham 3, Nottingham Forest 2. Much to my dismay, I can't believe it. I absolutely can't believe it. 3-2. Thomas Souček, a man who always seemed to come up with goals, and it seems to be like, I don't know how many he's scored this season, but I don't think it's many, if any. And he delivers an 88th minute winner from a header. For me, there was one player on the pitch out there above everybody else who made the difference here. James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah.
This guy is absolutely sensational. And I would go as far as to say, people have said this forever, but a corner, especially for a team like West Ham, when you've got your Zumas, your Součeks, and even Jared Bowen scoring a header from a corner. When you've got somebody who is that good from a dead ball, it's like David Beckham. Like, if you watch the Beckham documentary, which I'm sure most of you have, you just see how amazing this guy is from a dead ball set piece. James Ward-Prowse is that level. And he single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but he has facilitated this win for West Ham. And it was a must-win game, really, if they don't want to start falling into the bottom half of the table and like kind of trying to just scrape the best position they can for their Premier League season. Massive win for them, and I did not expect it. And I also didn't think it was reality. But there we go, 3-2 win.
Listen, West Ham, you took me to the limit. I swear, I thought I was losing more points, and then all of a sudden, managed to get the claw back. When Nottingham Forest scored that second goal, I was like, oh, bloody hell. 2 minutes later, they get the equaliser. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And then later on, they get that winner. But you're completely right. I feel like it was a poor start from West Ham, but a good finish. And I'm glad, because at home, they needed to get a result. They've not been in great form. And this, hopefully, for them, will be the catalyst to get up and running again like they were at the start of the season. West Ham, you're completely right in saying that James Ward-Prowse is absolutely key. And yeah, the set-piece king, as far as I'm concerned right now. His accuracy is on point. And it's good to see, because, yeah, when you have players like Beckham in the past, and you just know, give him any set-piece and you just know something's coming from it. Ward-Prowse is in that bracket now, it seems. So absolutely critical for West Ham and their success in order to utilise the chances that come their way. But they got the win in the end, and that's the most important thing. Can they carry it forward to pick up some form? Perhaps, but they needed this win desperately. Unlucky Nottingham Forest as well, because they deserved something, but unlucky, I would say.
Yeah, big win for West Ham, though. Liverpool as well, another comfortable win. They are quietly making this a very entertaining title race. They just keep getting results. They slipped up the week before. You thought that Brentford were going to win this game, and you never know. They had a lot of chances, but the quality of the finishing, they needed Ivan Toney out there in this game. Like, I think the chance conversion in terms of like on target to not was like 1 in 5 was on target. 16 shots, 3 on target. Poor day for Brentford, but Liverpool just quietly going about their business right now. 3-0 winners.
But you know what it is. You know what it is, George. I didn't say the correct team. When I was predicting, I meant to say Toulouse, not Brentford. And it come out wrong. It come out wrong. So
I see what you've done here, mate. I see what you've done.
So technically, I should be getting points. But no.
Well, if you'd have bet to lose, then you would have lost. But you bet to lose to win, and you wouldn't lose. Oh, this is too early on a Tuesday for this.
Listen, blimey. When I saw Toulouse beat Liverpool, and Toulouse, who are sitting, 14th in Ligue 1, by the way, and Liverpool actually brought on their big boys, and they still conceded. So when that happened, I was like, oh man, this is coming in my favour. Surely they're going to bottle it against Brentford now, because we'd already predicted. And look, routine win. Routine win. Liverpool come in, and they're getting the job done against the teams at home that they should be getting the job done against. They're killing them softly, at the beginning. And when you look at Brentford, Brentford came with a similar game plan. You just know what Brentford are going to try and do. And Liverpool, first early goal, and that's it. They set the tone. It means Brentford have to come out. They need to spread. They need to try and get that goal. And it just makes life easier for a bigger team like Liverpool to just pick up the pieces, which is, when we look at Chelsea, for example, that is something that we need to get better at. And hopefully we do. But With Liverpool, they can do it and they're efficient. And Mo Salah, for example, being able to pick up those pieces himself, phenomenal. Later on, Diogo Jota with a very, very well-worked goal. Fantastic finish from Diogo Jota.
Yeah, that's a brilliant finish.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. But that's Liverpool at the moment. And when they're playing at home against Brentford, you just expect them to get the result, and they did. Routine win for Liverpool in the end, despite their little roadblock and their drop in form over in the Europa League.
Yeah, no, I think with Liverpool, I think the fact that they've got so much firepower means that they were never going to struggle this season, in my opinion. I think they went through like a phase last year where we're thinking, well, it was longer than a phase, really. It was just a bad season all in all. But I think they've bought the right players. I think Szoboszlai is a really good player. Jota is now perfectly fitted into that Liverpool team. Darwin's looking good, got the assist for Salah's goal. I just think overall, they will always outscore too many teams, and I think that obviously the way that Klopp has them playing over these years, you can always rely on Liverpool to come good, and at the moment they are right in the race. Speaking of a team that are in the race, Man City of course, but Chelsea are in some kind of race now, a race up the table, I'd say. Chelsea 4, City 4, of course we'll go into it in more detail in the other video, but mate, like, instead of focusing on the game so much, because we can do that in the other video, in terms of a Premier League spectacle, like at the moment, Chelsea have got to be the poster boys, surely, because that's 2 in a week, 8 goals scored, 5 conceded. If you want entertainment, you go to Chelsea. You watch Chelsea, which means inadvertently you then watch both me and Eunice. So entertainment just comes. It flows.
It doesn't stop.
What an incredible game of football that was. Like,
it was
absolutely top level from everybody on the field.
Yeah, everybody, including City, to be honest. It was a spectacle, and it was a great advert for the Premier League. And I feel like even the neutrals loved it. Everyone was raving about how good that game was. Definitely game of the season. And you know what? Like, yeah, we'll go into more detail in our other video in terms of the game in its context. But overall, to sum it up, Chelsea really showed what they're capable of. Man City didn't fold or anything. City just, based on who they came up against, and they still, I feel like, done the best that they could. But this game, in and of itself, I feel like was. You could see many people after the game had been played, after it finished 4-4, everyone was saying this is Chelsea's game of the season since last week. And that just sums Chelsea up, isn't it? When they're playing against the big teams, they are efficient and they're able to get something done. And this City game was a big needle mover, I would say, for Chelsea. And we'll get into more detail in that other video, as I've said, as to why. But the belief is now increasing. Manchester City are still top of the league. I feel like they're still going to go on what they're going to do. And for them, a point away at the bridge, they're seeing it as, I think, a respectful draw because of how the game went. And they can happily move on and compete for the title, which I feel like they will do. But for Chelsea, this is a game changer. So keep your eyes on Chelsea, because I feel like that game was a big example as to why they can do well in games to come.
Yep, onwards and upwards for Chelsea.
Yep.
City will always be there. So I think from a City perspective, to focus on that for me to wrap up this vid, I would say this is a good result for Man City. I think it's very rare that Guardiola gets outsmarted by a manager, but I think he was outsmarted by Pochettino. I think he didn't give Chelsea enough respect with the team that he set out with. Too many attackers, not enough respect for the quality of the Chelsea midfield, leaving Rodri exposed because Bernardo Silva's always going to want to get forward. He's a workhorse, but it didn't work at Stamford Bridge. But it finishes Chelsea 4, Man City 4, and that wraps up this week's Premier League review on ShootOut. If you want to see what we had to say about the Chelsea 4, City 4, Eunice and I together, then stay tuned. It's either going to be the next video or it was the previous video. But we will see you in that video tomorrow, I'm going to say. Yeah, tomorrow.
We'll see you then.